Discover the amazing, heartwarming lessons from Tom Brady that will change your life forever. In the sleepy suburb of Rockhaven, Massachusetts, where the sun dips below the horizon painting the sky in shades of hope, there's a pride that swells on Friday nights. Jake Mallory, a devoted high school football coach, stood on the sidelines, heart racing, as the stadium lights flickered to life. He was more than just a coach, he was a mentor, a father figure, shaping young boys into resilient men, holding on to the belief that football was about family and perseverance. But the weight of dwindling community support was pressing down, leaving him uncertain if his efforts truly made a difference. Then came Chad. The new quarterback, gleaming with privilege, whose arrival sent ripples through the tight-knit team. He strutted onto the field like royalty, and whispered conversations ignited among the parents, sown with tension and competition. "What does this mean for my son?" murmured one worried mom, while another chimed in, "He's a game changer." Jake felt the chasm of socio-economic divide widens with each practice. The unspoken question loomed heavy: could Jake maintain the harmony among his boys in the face of Chad's unearned spotlight? Frustration bubbled within him. Amid the pressure to unify the team, he watched in horror as the friction turned into a catastrophic meltdown during the big game. Boys clashed, tempers flared, and despite Jake's fervent attempts to rally them, they crumbled, suffering an embarrassing loss that left his heart shattered along with their spirits. Each boy went home haunted by disappointment. The camaraderie Jake had worked tirelessly to build now cracked like the faded paint on the bleachers, but in the depths of despair, something flickered in Jake's mind, a spark ignited by local legend Tom Brady's rise from school football to NFL stardom. Brady, who faced rejection, rose above adversity, fought for his place, and became a beacon of hope. "If he can, why can't we?" Jake whispered to himself. Determined, he set a plan in motion, a community fundraiser. Not just to raise funds for the struggling football program but to reclaim the spirit of togetherness that Rockhaven once knew. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let us continue. On the night of the fundraiser, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. Chili cook-offs smelled deliciously intoxicating as laughter and music floated through the air. But then, like a storm cloud looming above, tension crept in. An argument erupted on stage between Chad's family and another, revealing raw hurt and pent-up emotions, the divide slashing through the crowd. Jake's heart pounded wildly as he realized the stakes were higher than just football. This was about connection. Beyond the field, fate hung by a thread. Would he have the strength to bridge this chasm of privilege and resentment? As the night drew to a close, Jake stood alone, contemplating the enormity of his task. With playoffs looming, he faced a bittersweet truth: the next game was not merely about scoring points, it was a chance to redefine success in a community torn apart. Would he find the key to uniting everyone? The answers felt just out of reach, tantalizingly close, yet obscure in the dawning light of tomorrow. The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden hue over Rockhaven. Jake woke up feeling the weight of purpose on his shoulders. He made his way to the kitchen, brewing a pot of coffee that filled the air with hope. Today was about more than just football, it was about healing the fractures the team had suffered. He thumbed through the notes he had written for the upcoming meeting with his boys, hoping to shed light on their shared struggles. As Jake arrived at the school auditorium, he found the boys scattered across the seats, their faces a mix of anxiety and defiance. Chad sat with an air of confidence that both impressed and unsettled him. Jake took a deep breath, recalling the hope that flickered inside him after watching countless highlights of Tom Brady and his relentless drive. He wished for a spark of that spirit to ignite in this room. "All right, team," he began, his voice steady, yet charged with emotion. "I know last week was rough. We're more than just a bunch of players. We're a family. His gaze shifted from face to face, trying to read their hearts. And like any family, we have our struggles. A murmur broke out in the room. What is the point of family if we can't win? Chad's voice cut through the noise. It hung in the air, heavy and challenging. The other boys shifted uneasily, some nodding, while others glared at their quarterback. Jake's heart raced. Criticism stung, but he needed to turn this around. Winning matters, yes. But what truly defines us is how we rise after we fall. Silence wrapped around them like a warm blanket as they absorbed his words. Tom Brady faced countless setbacks, didn't he? He understood how to rally the troops after a loss. That's what makes champions. The tension in the room shifted palpably. Victor, a quiet player from the back row, spoke up. Coach, it's not just Chad's fault. We all got caught up in our own egos. A few others nodded in agreement, the ice of defensiveness beginning to thaw. Jake seized the moment. Exactly. And it's time we embrace that we're better together. Today we're going to work not just on plays, but on teamwork, trust, and unity. Let us practice as if this is our last shot. Because it just might be the turning point we need. As they practiced together running routes and executing plays, Jake saw something miraculous happening. Laughter echoed across the field, and nods of encouragement replaced sneers. Chad, initially standoffish, began to smile as he threw passes with precision, but this time he was leading his team, not dominating them. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows on the field, Jake realized the magic lay not just in the game but in the connection they were forging. The spirit of Rockhaven filled the air, reminding him why he loved coaching in the first place, but just as the boys lulled into a rhythm of renewed camaraderie and budding respect, an unexpected visitor pulled into the parking lot, a figure all too familiar to Jake. His heart sank as he recognized the unmistakable stance of his rival coach from the neighboring town, eyes glinting with competition. Would this new confrontation shatter the fragile unity they had built? Would Jake's vision be put to the test again? The stakes couldn't be higher, and as he approached the unfamiliar face, he could feel the tight grip of uncertainty creeping in. Jake wiped his brow as he approached the rival coach, a man known for his sharp tactics and relentless pursuit of victory. The late afternoon sunlight danced between them, setting a tense stage. The boys, still buzzing from their earlier practice, watched intently, their laughter fading into an anxious silence. Here to scout, Dave. Jake said, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. Deep inside, he felt the weight of his commitment to his team. They had just begun to heal, and the last thing he wanted was for that progress to be derailed. Dave smirked, folding his arms. You know me too well, Jake. Can't let a week go by without keeping tabs on my competition, can I? The cockiness dripped from his words, a reminder of the rivalry they had navigated for years. Jake didn't let it show, but his heart raced. There was something about Dave's presence that felt like a threat to the harmony Jake had worked so hard to cultivate. We're focusing on our game plan. You're welcome to watch, but I'm not here to play mind games today. The rival coach stepped closer, eyes glinting like sharp daggers. You really think you can turn this team around with a few feel-good speeches and practices? Come on, these boys need to know what it means to win. You're softening them up for defeat. Jake felt a rush of anger surge through him, but he pushed it down. I believe in building character, Dave. You can't fabricate strength from fear alone. He glanced back at his team, who were huddled together. He caught Chad's eye, determined, engaged. This was about more than just scores, it was about trust and teamwork. Oh, I get it. The soft approach. It's cute, Dave chuckled disdainfully. But when we face off next week, let us see how your bonding translates to the scoreboard. Jake felt the tension coil tighter. He wouldn't let slander disrupt the warmth that had spread over his team like a comforting blanket. Whatever you want to believe, I know my boys. We're not just players, we're a family. And families stick together. I'm not afraid of losing, Dave. I'm afraid of losing sight of what really matters. Good luck with that, Jake, Dave replied before turning to leave, his mocking laughter still echoing in the air. Jake stood there as the reality of the confrontation settled over him. Could his focus on unity and growth withstand the rigid expectations of competition? He turned back to his team, who were watching the exchange in a mix of awe and concern. "All right, boys," Jake called, raising his voice over the murmurs. "Forget what you just saw. We'll show them what family looks like on the field. Today we proved we can lift each other up. I want to see that same spirit in our game next week. We will play with heart." The boys nodded, a renewed fire sparking in their eyes. Chad even grinned, the earlier defiance replaced with determination. But as Jake joined them on the field, a gnawing doubt lingered. What if Dave's words took root? And as the sun sank lower, casting long shadows across their huddle, he couldn't brush aside the weight of the challenge ahead. Would their newfound connection hold when faced with pressure? Would they rise together, or would doubt fracture them once more? As they began to practice again, the air around them thickened with both hope and uncertainty. Jake knew one thing for sure: they were running out of time, and fast. Could they overcome the rivalries that awaited them? And would Jake's faith in his boys prove to be enough when it truly counted? The following days leading up to the big game felt like a whirlwind. Jake watched the boys work hard, pouring their hearts into every practice, yet the echo of Dave's taunts loomed large. Every whistle blew with urgency, every shout carried weight. But amidst the pressure, the atmosphere began to shift. They were becoming a unit, gelling into something greater than themselves. Chad, once a shy boy who barely spoke above a whisper, took the lead one afternoon, rallying his teammates for a drill. "Let us show them what we can do. Let us push each other," he yelled, his face a mixture of grit and excitement. The other boys responded, their laughter mixed with shouts of encouragement, as they dove into the exhausting exercises. Watching this transformation, Jake felt relief wash over him. Maybe, just maybe, they could withstand the test that lay ahead. But doubt still clutched at his heart. He questioned whether that unity would endure when the stakes were high. As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting everything in hues of gold, Jake gathered the boys for a huddle. He could see each face glowing with determination, yet he knew vulnerability was just an exposed nerve away. "Hey, listen up," he began, feeling the weight of their gazes. "I know this is a big game. But remember, it's not just about winning. It's about being there for one another. We fight together or not at all." They nodded, and Jake saw a quiet understanding pass between them. They weren't just a group of kids, they were a family, and they needed to remember that come game day, the day before the match, heavy clouds rolled in, threatening the big day that had felt like an eternity in the making. Jake sat on the bleachers, watching as raindrops began pattering against the ground. The reflection of his own doubts weathered his spirit. Was he genuinely ready for this? Could he give his boys what they needed at this critical moment? Chad, seeing his coach's pensive expression, joined him with a determined gleam in his eye. "Coach, we've got this. I can feel it," he said, spark igniting his words. "It's not just about how we play. It's about who we are as a team." Jake smiled faintly, moved by Chad's confidence. "You really believe that, don't you?" "Yep," Chad replied, echoing with pride. "We're stronger together like you said." Those words hung in the air like a lifeline. Could they really channel that connection and rise above challenges? As the rain began to lighten, Jake felt a flicker of hope. Game day arrived, and the sky was a mix of gray and blue, anxiety crackling in the air. They huddled again before the match, a circle of camaraderie, glancing from one face to another. "No matter what happens out there," Jake reminded them, "if we support each other, we're already winning." As they stepped onto the field, the roar of the crowd swelled, filling the air with an electric pulse. This was it. Tensions heightened, Jake could feel his heartbeat quicken. In that moment of faith, he wondered, would they fight together, or would the pressure split them apart? With the whistle signaling the start, they burst onto the field, adrenaline surging, a mix of fear and exhilaration dancing within. The stakes were higher than ever, and as the first play kicked off, Jake realized that everything he had worked for was about to be tested. Would their bond withstand the ultimate challenge? And what revelations awaited them within the heat of the game? As the whistle blew, the players surged forward. The intensity of the moment engulfed Jake. He was no longer just a coach, but the heart of a team on a field where all dreams could either rise or shatter. The first few plays unfolded in a blur. The opposing team was fierce, and their energy was palpable. Yet, amidst the chaos, Jake watched his boys respond. Each pass, each tackle, each shout of encouragement built a growing confidence. They were holding their own. Chad executed a perfect pass to Ethan, who sprinted down the sideline, barely breaking stride. The crowd roared, and in that moment, Jake saw the magic of teamwork manifest before him. Chad's growth was not just personal, it echoed in every teammate's eyes. They were learning to trust each other, but then Dave, the captain of the rival team, came barreling toward their side. Jake felt a lump form in his throat. He remembered the taunts of the past weeks, the way Dave had underestimated his boys, their potential. The clash was inevitable. Dave collided with Chad, knocking him to the ground. A hush fell over the crowd, the air thickened with tension. Jake ran onto the field, the referee close behind him. "Chad. You okay?" He knelt beside him, anxiety swirling in his gut. Chad winced but nodded, determination etched onto his face. There was something in his eyes that told Jake he would rise. As Chad stood and dusted himself off, something shifted in the dynamic of the game. Jake sensed a fire igniting within his team, a collective rallying cry against the adversity they faced. They circled around Chad, a show of solidarity. "Let us do this!" Chad shouted, and the boys echoed him with urgency, their voices mingling into one. They returned to their positions, invigorated, and Jake felt alive with hope. The next play unfolded with fluidity. They moved as a well-oiled machine, the rhythm of their movements synchronizing perfectly, as if a single heartbeat pulsed through them. Jake's heart raced as they executed the perfect formation, delivering a touchdown that would change the momentum of the game. The crowd erupted, a tidal wave of sound washing over Jake. He could see his boys' faces illuminated with joy, relief, and disbelief. They were ahead, but Jake knew that the game was far from over. As the minutes ticked away, the opposing team began to fight back. Dave, emboldened by his team's missed opportunities, charged relentlessly, targeting Jake's players with a desperate ferocity. Each tackle that brought one of Jake's boys down felt like a personal hit. "Stay focused. Stay together." Jake called out from the sidelines, his voice rising above the chaos. The pressure was mounting, weighing down on their shoulders. Doubt crept back in as the scoreboard shifted, the anticipation thick enough to cut with a knife. The final quarter approached, and Jake could sense the tension simmering. This was the moment when everything would be defined not by the score, but by how they reacted under pressure. He needed to remind them of the heart they had shown, the bond they had built. In a desperate huddle before the final play, Jake leaned in. "Look at each other. Remember what we fought for, who we are. We're more than just a team, we're a family. Let us finish strong. Together." As they broke the huddle, Jake felt a swell of pride and fear. Would they lean into each other in the face of the challenge, or would their moments of doubt unravel them? Jake stood at the sidelines, heart pounding, as the game drew to a climactic end. Would they seize the moment, or would they let their fears pull them down? The final whistle loomed closer, and with it, so did every hope and dream they had fought for. The whistle sounded again, and the field erupted in action. Jake's eyes darted as his boys took their places with newfound determination. They were entering the final stretch, and the air crackled with energy. Chad took the snap, his hands steady, eyes focused. He wasn't just playing for the scoreboard, he was playing for every late-night practice, every sacrifice made. This wasn't just a game, it was everything they had fought for. Ethan sprinted down the sideline, weaving through defenders like a dart through air. With every step, the cheers of the crowd fueled his speed. Jake's heart raced. Would they hold it together? Would they lean into each other's strengths as they had practiced so many times? Chad launched the ball toward Ethan. Time seemed to slow as the sphere glided through the air. For a moment, it felt like the world had paused, all eyes were locked on that single object. When Ethan caught it, the stadium erupted into thunderous applause, an explosion of noise that sent shivers through Jake's spine. But Dave was not done yet. A flash of fury ignited in his eyes. He dashed after Ethan with reckless abandon, determined to take him down. Jake could see it unfolding, a train wreck in slow motion. He wanted to scream for Ethan to be careful. The opposing team's defense moved like a wall closing in. Ethan saw Dave coming. He sidestepped just in time, leaving him sprawling onto the ground. The crowd gasped, then exploded into cheers again. The tension seemed to drain from Jake's chest as Ethan surged forward, dodging the next defender, and sprinting toward the end zone. Jake couldn't hold back. He jumped up, pumping his fist in celebration. This was it. They were so close now. He glanced back at his boys, who were rallying behind Ethan like a well-orchestrated parade. They pushed forward together, embodying everything Jake had taught them about resilience and teamwork. With sheer determination, Ethan crossed into the end zone, seconds to spare on the clock. Touchdown! The roars from the stands felt like a tidal wave washing over them, sweeping away fear and doubt. Yet, amidst the cheers, Jake noticed the opposing team deflate not just Dave, but the entire roster. Looking closely, he could see the struggle in their faces, the weight of defeat settling in, but Jake's boys weren't just celebrating their triumph, they were acknowledging the hard-fought game. One by one, they approached the fallen Dave, extending hands and words of encouragement. In that moment, the tension lifted, and sportsmanship took center stage. "Nice hustle, man," Chad said, helping Dave to his feet. Jake's heart swelled, pride mixing with the relief that they had not just won, they had grown. As they gathered for a final huddle, Jake felt the raw emotion in the air, a mixture of joy, defeat, and respect. "You did it, team. I'm proud of every single one of you. Not just because you won, but because you fought for each other. You became a family today." Suddenly, the swirling feelings bubbled up in Jake's chest, threatening to spill over. His voice wavered but grew stronger. "This is just the beginning. Let us keep this fire alive." But just then, Jake's attention was pulled away. A figure slipped away from the sidelines, hidden behind the crowd. It was apparent, their face hollow with disappointment. There was something deeply familiar about that figure. Jake turned back toward his team, his heart heavy. It wasn't just about wins, it was about everything that came after. As they celebrated, he wondered how this moment would ripple into their lives beyond the field. Could they carry this lesson, this bond, into their everyday struggles? Would they remember that family means lifting each other up? The sun dipped lower, cradling the team in a warm embrace as they finally gathered to take a photo, marking the victory. But even as the camera clicked, Jake's mind raced ahead. Tomorrow, they would face the world again, and it wouldn't always be as bright and triumphant as today. What new challenges would arise? Would they stay together when the going got tough, or would fears creep back in? Jake found himself anxious at the thought. The highest stakes might still be waiting just around the corner. As the celebration faded and the reality of tomorrow began to seep into Jake's thoughts, he observed his boys diving into the post-game excitement. Laughter, cheers, and high-fives filled the air, weaving a tapestry of triumph that echoed across the field. But beneath that vibrant surface, Jake wrestled with a growing knot in his stomach. He turned his gaze back to the figure that had slipped away. It was Mrs. Granger, Dave's mom. Her silence spoke volumes, heavier than any defeat on the scoreboard. It reminded Jake that victory could wear many faces. All around him, families mingled, joy pulsing in their veins, while Mrs. Granger lingered in the shadows, wrestling her own feelings of loss and heartache. "Coach!" Chad's voice cut through Jake's thoughts, yanking him back to the present. We want to take some time and practice again tomorrow, even just a little. Jake smiled at their enthusiasm, but Dave's earlier despair echoed in his mind. Guys, let us go home and let today's win soak in. We have plenty of time for more practice. Just then, Ethan bounded over, all energy and optimism. We could do some drills after school, right? I mean, imagine how unstoppable we'd be. The idea bubbled up excitement within the team. Still, amid their chatter, Jake felt a responsibility to guide them through not only the victories but the losses as well. Listen, he interrupted gently, victories are great, but they don't define us. It's how we handle challenges that truly shows our character. Like we always talk about, we rise together, we fall together. That applies to everyone, including Dave. The boys hushed, the weight of his words settling in. Coach is right, Chad said, looking around at his teammates. Dave busted his tail out there just as we did. Let us make sure next time he isn't alone. Jake watched as recognition flickered across their faces. They may have won, but it was clear that real growth meant extending their understanding to those outside their own victory circle. The boys huddled together again, heads bowed, their camaraderie transforming into a shared mission. How about we go find Dave? Invite him to practice tomorrow, Ethan suggested, glancing towards the sidelines. That's the spirit, Jake said, his heart swelling anew. Opening your arms to others shows strength. That's what being a family is all about. They made their way toward the exit, but before stepping off the field, Jake turned back, scanning the crowds one last time. He saw Mrs. Granger again, standing quietly, her expression unreadable. He hesitated, caught between the urge to comfort her and the impulse to keep moving forward with his boys, but this time, he chose to follow his instincts. He walked toward her, leaving the noise and jubilation behind. Mrs. Granger, he called softly, his voice cutting through the laughter behind him. She turned toward him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I'm so proud of Dave, she whispered, but her sadness was palpable. I know it's tough right now, he said, standing beside her. But he played well. He showed heart. That means a lot. She nodded, but her words caught in her throat. Jake looked back at his boys, who were creating plans of their own, and then back to her. We want to make sure he knows he's not alone. This doesn't end here. As Mrs. Granger's lips parted into a grateful smile, Jake felt something shift in the air. There was hope, a glimmer of understanding. Tomorrow is a new day. We'll reach out. And hopefully, we can show Dave and his family the same love we have for each other, Jake promised. As he stepped away, something nagged at him, a whisper of doubt. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, he'd seen that in Mrs. Granger's eyes. Would they be able to keep this spirit alive beyond the field? How would those lessons of unity hold up when the weight of reality hit again, perhaps heavier than before? With crushing weight of uncertainty and a flicker of determination, Jake turned back toward his team. They were still laughing, their backs to him, unaware of the significance of what they were truly building. As he joined them, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something meaningful, something much bigger than just football. What would tomorrow's challenges reveal, and how would they navigate the complexities of life as a team? The sun rose the next morning, casting a soft golden light across the practice field. Jake arrived early, anticipation bubbling inside him. Today wasn't just about drills, it was about building a community. He set up cones and laid out equipment, envisioning each moment to come as a step towards something greater. One by one, the boys trickled in, their voices lively, laughter echoing across the field. Jake's heart swelled with pride and hope. Each player represented a piece of something profound: resilience, spirit, unity. But the absence of Dave still lingered heavily in the air like a missing note in a familiar melody. "Where's Dave?" Ethan asked. Jake noticed the innocent concern in his expression. "I called his house last night," Jake said, trying to mask his own worry. "His mom mentioned he wasn't feeling great. They should be here, right?" Chad chimed in, kicking the ground in frustration. We need him on the team. Exactly, Jake replied, feeling a sense of urgency. We're going to reach out. Make sure he knows we're here for him. In that moment, he realized this wasn't just a practice for the boys, it was a lesson in compassion, teamwork, and brotherhood. Let us work on our drills, then we'll check in with him, Jake suggested. The boys nodded, determination built into their expressions. They huddled, a mass of energy and dreams, ready to dive into their routines. Throughout practice, Jake watched as they pushed each other. Their laughter mixed with sweat, each drop on the ground a step closer to unity. They practiced hard, but Jake could tell they were missing something without Dave there. The energy was contagious, yet it felt incomplete. As practice ended, Jake gathered the team. All right, everyone. Great work today. But we need to do something special. He paused, looking each boy in the eyes, trying to ignite their shared sense of purpose. Let us head to Dave's house and surprise him. Invite him to join us. The boys erupted into a chorus of agreement, their excitement palpable. They grabbed their gear and set off on foot, jogging through the streets, laughter rising with every step. The community around them felt alive with each passing house, a scattering of families out and about, trading warm smiles and waves. When they arrived at Dave's house, Jake knocked, heart pounding in his chest. The door opened slowly, revealing Mrs. Granger, her eyes widening in surprise. Hey, Coach Boys, she greeted, her voice cracking. What brings you here? Is Dave home? Jake asked gently, ready to offer support. Just give me a moment, she replied before stepping back, leaving the door ajar. The boys clustered around, their excitement tempered with concern. When Dave finally emerged, a puzzled look on his face quickly turned into a smile, the expression instantly brightening the atmosphere around them. Guys? What are you doing here? We came to get you for practice. Chad exclaimed, stepping forward eagerly. You belong with us, man. It's not the same without you. Dave shifted awkwardly, the weight of his earlier disappointment pressed heavily on his shoulders. I don't know if I'm feeling up to it, Simon. Ethan chimed in. We all have ups and downs. You showed so much heart the other day, and we want to show you the same support. Let us train together. Jake saw the flicker of hope in Dave's eyes, battling with doubt. It was a crucial moment. He stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on Dave's shoulder. No one stands alone. We're here to lift each other up. Together we can overcome anything. After a moment, Dave nodded, his expression shifting from doubt to the warmth of belonging. You guys are right, let us do this. Joy radiated from the group as they turned. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that today was just the beginning. What would it mean for Dave to realize his potential with the team, and how would his journey affect the boys moving forward? As they headed back toward the field, Jake felt a rush of hope, mingled with uncertainty. After all, they were all about to discover that true victory lies not just in winning games, but in lifting each other up every single day. Little did they know, the real challenges were just around the corner, waiting to test the very bonds they were forming. As they jogged back to the practice field, the atmosphere shifted. There was a tangible excitement pulsing through the air. For the first time since Dave had been absent, it felt like the team might actually be whole again. Jake led the way, glancing back at Dave every few seconds. He couldn't help but notice the way Dave's gait was a little more confident, a little less hesitant. Was it possible that being surrounded by his teammates could mend some of the struggles he had faced? Once they reached the field, Jake clapped his hands to gather everyone's attention. All right, team. Let us kick off with some warm-ups, then we'll dive into game strategies. Today isn't just about drills, it's about learning from each other and showing what we're made of. As they began their stretches, Jake felt a rush of pride. Each boy was working hard to push through their physical limits, but more importantly, they were supporting one another. He caught sight of Ethan and Chad giving Dave encouraging pats on the back, telling him to keep it up. The warm-up transformed into drills that were both fun and intense. Dave started to shine. He jumped into passing drills, his throws more accurate, his focus sharper. Laughter echoed around the field as the boys cheered for one another, celebrating each small victory. Jake sensed a rhythm blossoming, a solid foundation of trust building on the field, but with every passing moment, whispers of doubt flickered in Jake's mind. What if this bond was fragile? He had seen teams fall apart before, and he didn't want that for these boys. As practice continued, Jake noticed moments of vulnerability between the different players that had the power to crack open their hearts. During one drill, Ethan tripped and fell, landing hard on the ground. Everyone stopped in their tracks, worry written all over their faces. Jake rushed to his side, but Ethan was quick to recover, shaking his head and laughing it off. "I'm okay, just testing the ground." The team burst into laughter, but the moment served as a reminder. Being vulnerable didn't mean weakness. It was a chance for them to be seen, to be lifted up together. "See? Just like that," Jake called out, clapping his hands in excitement. "Life is full of falls, but it's how we help each other up that counts." They continued, fueled by camaraderie, but Jake felt it again, the urgent need for real conversations. They had practiced teamwork, but now, they had to dive deeper. Just as he was about to gather them for a team huddle, Dave approached him, a serious look on his face. "Coach, can we talk?" The hesitation in Dave's voice caught Jake off guard. There was a depth in Dave's expression that was not there before, a raw vulnerability that stirred Jake's protective instinct. "Of course, let us step aside," Jake said, motioning for Dave to follow him to a quieter corner of the field while the others continued practicing. Jake felt a mix of anticipation and worry. He had seen how much this team meant to Dave. What could he possibly say that would change everything again? As they settled in, the energy buzzing around them, Jake could see that Dave was ready to peel back some layers. In that moment, he knew whatever was on Dave's mind was going to be pivotal for both him and the whole team, but would they be strong enough to face whatever challenges lay ahead? And what secrets did Dave hold that could either bind them together or threaten to unravel their newfound unity? Jake took a breath, awaiting whatever revelation was about to unfold. Dave shifted on his feet, the weight of his thoughts pressing hard against him. "Coach, I need to say something," he began, his voice low but steady. "Last week, after the game, it hit me hard. I thought I could handle it. But I guess I was just masking my insecurities." Jake felt a flicker of concern. "It's okay, Dave. We all have moments where we feel lost. I watched you guys celebrate. I felt so isolated, like I didn't belong. I was so caught up in this idea of being the star, and when the pressure hit, I fell apart instead. All my talk about winning didn't realize it was costing me the true bond the team had built." His eyes brimmed with tears. "I didn't just let myself down, I let everyone down." Jake stepped closer, feeling emotions churn in his own chest. "It's not about the scoreboard or who the star is, Dave. It's about the team, the family, we're building together. You are as much a part of this as anyone else. I know that now. But I was so wrapped up in proving myself." Dave took a deep breath, grounding himself. "I can't keep holding on to this pride if it means losing the connections I have." Jake nodded, understanding dawned on him. It takes real strength to admit that. This team is about lifting each other, just like we practiced. Yeah. Dave forced a smile, one glistening with sincerity. "I want to show you guys I've changed. I want to be part of this family, not just as a player but as a friend." Jake clapped him on the shoulder, sensing the relief wash over him. "You're already a part of it, Dave. Just keep leaning into your teammates." As they stepped back to the field, the energy among the boys brightened. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a hopeful glow. The huddle felt electric, brimming with potential. Jake gathered them all together, his heart swelling as he looked around at their eager faces. Today wasn't just about drills or wins, it was about understanding our strengths and struggles. Dave stepped up and showed us what it means to be part of this team. It's about lifting each other when things get heavy, and lifting each other up when we stumble. Remember, it's not just about the scoreboard. The boys nodded in agreement, their spirits ignited once more. Chad stepped forward. We'll always have each other's backs. Right, guys? Right. They echoed with fervor, each voice contributing to the unwavering unity blooming in their hearts. Jake radiated pride, watching them channel encouragement as they rallied once more. Practice carried on, laughter intertwining with shouts of camaraderie as they fiercely chased every goal and every imperfect moment. With each drill, with every dropped pass, they grew stronger, bonding not just through football, but through authenticity and trust. They were shaping more than just athletes, they were forging friendships that reached beyond the field. As they wrapped up the practice, the day's heat fading gently into the coolness of evening, Jake felt a profound slice of contentment. This was just the beginning, a kickoff to a new chapter, a journey far more significant than the games ahead. As the boys began to head home, Jake caught up with Dave. We're on the right track, kid. And remember, it's about growth from all angles. Thanks, Coach, Dave replied, lightness carrying the burden of a hard truth. I'll keep that in mind. Jake smiled, a warmth inside him blooming bright. Every step they took from here on out would require their commitment, each challenge, each game, plucking at their resolve to rise together. Over the next few weeks, the boys faced many challenges. Some games were tough, but they remembered how to support one another deeply. They celebrated victories, reframed defeats, and each day became a fortified bond. The season brought them closer, and as the final game approached, Jake sensed a calm before the storm. The community came alive, parents and friends rallying together, a mixture of nerves and excitement sparkling in the air, and on that game day, under a blanket of falling leaves, the bleachers overflowed with familiar faces, the atmosphere buzzing with possibility. The boys huddled together on the field, sweat and determination glimmering in their eyes. Today, remember why we play, Jake rallied, his voice ringing clear. We fight together, we lift each other up. Then, as the whistle blew, a wave of unity surged through them. The roar of the crowd echoed, a harmonious blend of hope and faith. They were a family. They may not have known what the scoreboard would reveal, but Jake felt an undeniable certainty they would rise together, overcome together, and no matter what lay ahead, it wouldn't just be about winning. It was about cherishing each other on and off that field. And that was the ultimate victory. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending, we want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Help spread the word.